And welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time for Splitsin91. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of rankings, lists, reviews, re-reviews, commentaries, out of the blueness, topics, whatever it may be, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for, he wanted me to rank worst to best the X-Men films or characters associated with X-Men. So that includes Deadpool, Logan, etc. Now, first off, I haven't seen the New Mutants, so I can't say anything about that. X-Men Days of Future Past, to be honest, I didn't see it because just never had a need to. Never had a desire to see it. I just wouldn't be for... When it comes to X-Men, I liked the first couple X-Men, but after that I was kind of done, and I just not been a die-hard X-Men fan. I don't know why, just never been. So, like, okay, I'll say, jumping the gun, the two favorites were the Deadpool films. And I just say I'm much more of a Deadpool fan than an X-Men fan. I mean, I know I'm going the opposite direction, but I would say Deadpool 2, Deadpool 1, X-Men 2, Logan, that'd be my top four. And, well, it's between Logan, X-Men The Last Stand, which people hate, but I never hated. I thought it was fun, but I'm a guy that didn't follow the comics much. I did enjoy, but anyway, he won worst to best. It's hard picking the worst one. It's between X-Men Dark Phoenix and X-Men Apocalypse. And these are films I barely remember, so I'm doing my best to refigure my brain cells. X-Men Dark Phoenix, I never cared for this new cast of X-Men. Never cared for the characters. Never cared for the iterations of the characters, the actors involved. Never did anything for me. From X-Men First Class onward, it just seemed either convoluted or the timeline doesn't work the best, and it definitely fell in flames, which is ironic because the last one was Dark Phoenix. And people want to say they did that so bad in X-Men The Last Stand. I'd rather watch that than Dark Phoenix. I do remember the goofy scene trying to make Professor Xavier walk, and it came off more comedic than whatever the hell they were trying to do. I also remember the scene where they went into outer space and they couldn't fucking settle on whether Nightcrawler was fine in space or not fine in space. Because at one point he could fucking teleport into space, save people, and it was fine and dandy. But then there's another point, oh my god, need a helmet, and the helmet's broken, so we need to use duct tape. Because apparently duct tape, if you have an open fucking helmet, and you just put duct tape around it, you're just fine. And yes, I know it's a comic book movie. Are you looking for realism? But it's like, there's some moments you just go, just no, man. Just no, what the fuck? Just no, just no. I mean, what the it's like X-Men Apocalypse, like... Quicksilver, the reason he doesn't do certain things... I'm like, really? That's your reason for doing it? Or for not doing it, even though the world is at stake? And Apocalypse looked like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie from the 90s. Like, I remember Apocalypse being an intimidating villain on the X-Men cartoon. With the voice they had and the way he looked here, he just seemed goofy and just, he looked ridiculous. He was not intimidating. Fucking Ivan Ooze was more intimidating than this. And the action scenes, you know, other than the one Quicksilver moment, which people mention, the action scenes I remember not being much up to par. And forgettable, like, I have completely forgot about those films. Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse. And you know what? I think a lot of people have felt the same fucking way. Psylocke, Was her name Psylocke? A lot of the other characters were either underused or not used properly, and she just killed off in Dark Phoenix. But they tried to make Mystique like the leader of the X-Men for a bit. I'm like, why? Oh, because you have Jennifer Lawrence, who I think she won an Oscar. So yeah, she's the lead. I'm like, Mystique. That's another weird thing. That Mystique of all people would be the leader of the X-Men. Oh, Mystique and Charles Xavier are brother and sister, but not really. Like step brother and sister. And the fact that they're supposed to be connected with the Patrick Stewart X-Men films, I'm like, yeah. So all this time in X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 and even X-Men 3, I'm supposed to believe that Charles Xavier and Mystique grew up as brother and sister, not blood related, but that feeling, but that's never brought up, and instead they just pull it out of their ass. That's why if you try to create like a timeline for these movies, good luck, your head explode. Will explode scanner style. So Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, as to which is worse between the two. I mean, at least Apocalypse came up with the... Or was it Days of Future Past that came up? I can't remember which movie came up with the Quicksilver stuff. I can't remember. I mean, that's what I mean by it. These forgettable fucking movies. So Dark Phoenix, Apocalypse, from worst to best. X-Men First Class, I always thought a lot of people love that film. I remember when it got a lot of praise when it came out in 2011. And I'm like, X-Men First Class is bullshit. X-Men First Snore. I just thought it was boring. I thought Kevin Bacon was wasted. I thought that the first class of X-Men were lame. Banshee? Great, he could scream, so he's like Red Brown. He could scream. You have this one girl that spits acid. Really spit acid? Why don't you spit on yourself? It burned through your fucking head. Like spit acid. Yeah, that character went far. The spit acid lady. Fucking xenomorph wannabe. I don't care if they were in the comics or not. I don't care. Yeah, one guy who I like the actor, his power seemed like his power was to not die. Like, I forget what the exact power was, but it seemed like to... He was the black guy, and I remember that because Kevin Bacon talks about how he wants to enslave people, and he turns, and the first guy he looks like is the black guy. Like, again, I'm going to enslave you. And then his eyes are right on the black guy. And then... Like, the one guy whose power is kind of like, I'm not going to die, he's like the first and one of the only X-Men characters to die. And he's the only one that I thought was the better actor, has the more potential interest because of his acting, because of the... I forget his name. I think he was on TV show House for a little while. When House MD was trying to have all these students that might join his team, and he was one of the students. I forget the actor's name. Oh, and like the whole thing with Beast. Like the reason the Beast became Beast is because my feet are weird. My feet are weird. And so you do something that could potentially harm you, kill you, does alter your entire body, and all that was wrong was your feet. That all you had to, you could hide with. Most of the time you're wearing shoes. No one would fucking know the difference. If you're wearing socks or shoes, unless someone has a foot fetish, that's the only time people will fucking notice. So you just changed and fucked up your whole life because, oh, my feet look weird. What the fuck, you fucking idiot? So it made hate... I don't care if that was in the comics or not. I don't think it was. But it's like, oh, my feet are weird, so I'm going to do the experiment. And, oh, now I'm all full of hair. Hey, maybe you could have found a person really into foot fetish. Hey, you like feet? Mine's bigger than yours. I got more toes than you. Oh shit, be a foot lover's wet dream. Or Tarantino's wet dream. I don't know. So X-Men First Class bullshit I didn't care for at all. Again, if you like those films, cool. After that, I would say the Wolverine films, at least the first two. The Honestly, I think the Wolverine is worse than X-Men Origins Wolverine. I know people don't want to shoot me for that, because the Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine is not good either, but I can get some enjoyment for Hugh Jackman's performance, but that does a lot of stuff. But the Wolverine, I think, is worse because, number one, you look at what didn't work in X-Men Origins, and you can improve on it. Okay, you've had a Wolverine film by this point. You can improve on it, and they didn't, in my opinion. People say they did. No, they made a more boring story with even less interesting action sequences, and you fight ninjas. What makes the Wolverine more pissed off in my nature than X-Men Origins? Because the Wolverine, how do you make a film with Wolverine fighting ninjas boring? How do you make that boring? Wolverine is fighting ninjas in Japan, and they made it fucking boring. And then he fights the Silver Samurai, and instead they make him a giant fucking mechanical thing for some dumb reason. Instead of having regular size, and you get maybe this intricate, cool fight back and forth. Maybe adamantium versus adamantium. No, instead, the story I thought was lame. The action scenes were forgettable. Again, you fuck up Wolverine fighting ninjas. That's pretty damn mind-boggling to me. That's why no one remembers the Wolverine. Even the title is lame. X-Men Origins Wolverine's a lame title, but just calling it the Wolverine is pretty fucking lazy too. What's the sequel? The Wolverine. And then the next one on the worst to best, X-Men Origins Wolverine. There are moments I like. I like the opening of going through all the different wars montage and how Hugh Jackman was in each of these segments. I think the movie moves at a faster pace than The Wolverine. It's confusing because they almost have the same fucking title. But once again, you do a Wolverine film, you make it PG-13. There's moments I like. I like the little speech Hugh Jackman gives. Jackman's a good actor. He plays Wolverine well. When he's giving the speech, I'm calling for blood. No code. No, like, that's a really good speech, but then you get a director that was not a guy that handled action that often, and you can tell. You get effects, like really wonky effects on the claws that look very cheap and amateur. Complete amateur hour in terms of certain special effects. Like some of the scenes with the claws, and that scene with the mirror where the claws look like a fucking toy, a CGI toy. You get, the origin of Wolverine. There was nothing we found out that was that worth a shit. And that's the thing, the first Wolverine film should not have been an origin story. Or if you don't do that, go balls to wall R-rated, and you don't have to include, like, they try to include so much stuff. Like, they try to include this new team, including some version of Deadpool, And then they try to include the stuff with Sabretooth, which how this Sabretooth becomes the Sabretooth in the first X-Men movie, I have no fucking clue. I'm like, you already had a Sabretooth in the first X-Men. This Sabretooth is nothing like that other Sabretooth. So, what the fuck? And okay, you have no memory, but did he have no memory too of you? You both lost memory? It just... There's other villains you could have used. There's other stuff to it. It just tried to do so much in one movie. Because they thought they was going to have this series of X-Men Origin Magneto, X-Men Origin, blah blah blah, and it didn't. So okay, we gotta have the origin of Wolverine. We gotta have Sabretooth in there. You have fact of where did Wolverine come from, which to be honest, who gives a shit? It's better when it's more mysterious, honestly. We gotta have Sabretooth. We gotta have the Blob. You gotta have Gambit in there. You gotta have Ryan Reynolds as a former Deadpool. Only, let's take Deadpool, let's not have the costume, and let's take his fucking mouth away, so he's bald, and he's like all these, he's fucking, what's that thing from Mortal Kombat? I forgot his fucking name. He looks more like that than Deadpool. And, that's why Ryan Reynolds makes a lot of jokes about it. And that's also a sad thing. You never got like a Wolverine Deadpool connection. Like, that would have been really cool team up. That would have been a really cool movie. But that will never happen. That was a missed opportunity. Again, they try to do so much. And the action scenes for Wolverine is not as epic as it should. The rating hurt it a lot as well. And was Gavin Hood, the director. I don't know what else he's done, but he was not right for the role. It was above his pay grade, as they call it. It was above his pay grade. So then we get into the films I don't mind. X-Men, X-Men The Last Stand, Logan, and those could maybe switch, I don't know. But I know the top three for me is Deadpool 2, Deadpool 1, and X-Men 2. I know I'm going all over the place, but like Deadpool 2 is my favorite. Again, the Deadpool character I find more fun, entertaining movies than the X-Men films. And Deadpool 2 I thought was an improvement on the first one. Like Deadpool 1, when it came out, I'm like, I liked it. But Deadpool 2, I thought the director who worked on the first John Wick, along with another director, I thought he handled the action scenes very well. I thought the humor was rather entertaining. Like X-Force, what happens to X-Force right off the bat. I liked the addition of Cable. I thought Josh Brolin did a really good job. I like him more in that than as Thanos. Sorry. I thought it had a nice heart to it with him trying to take care of this kid. I thought that the pacing was smooth. It definitely gave the satisfaction in terms of action sequences. I mean, the whole finale, turn back time, I thought was cute. I thought breaking the fourth wall was actually rather witty and creative. I don't know if it can ever happen again with Disney now controlling it. I would not hold my breath on it. So for all I know, this could be the last true Deadpool film. We'll see. And that was kind of sad because Fox, other than Dark Phoenix, it seemed like they maybe would have been on the right track. Like the New Mutants, I liked the first initial trailer, but then when they changed everything and it wasn't rated R, and then a lot of stuff was reshot or re-edited, I'm like, nah, I have no interest. Again, they just... And I don't even know if that's really Disney's fault. I think that still might have been Fox's fault. It's like... I didn't trust people. If you trust people, no, and not try to fucking put your hands in it. Let it be its own. That's why they like these new Venom films to me. I didn't see the second one, but the first one is dog shit because like the stuff is trying to be and then it doesn't want to be its own thing. And if it tries, it fails, and then it's PG-13. People go, well, if it was rated R, it would be a flop. No, it wouldn't. Deadpool 2, Deadpool 1, and Logan were all hits, and they were R-rated. So yeah, if Venom was a true R-rated, it would have been a hit. And then you make a Carnage film PG-13? That's why I didn't bother watching that. I'm like, fuck that shit. But I would go back to, like, Deadpool 2, I thought was fun. Deadpool 1, I still enjoy. Not all the humor made me laugh. The pacing was a bit weird at first because the first half is going back from origin to this highway scene, then the origin, highway scene, origin, highway scene. That's kind of like the first half of the film. So that was a pacing that had to be a bit used to. The main villain didn't do much for me. Which I think Deadpool 2, the fact that Cable was in a way kind of the villain for a bit, but he's doing it for a reason you understand, and that's another reason why I think Deadpool 2 was a better film in my opinion. But the first Deadpool I still enjoyed, because I think Ryan Reynolds, that's the role he was born to do, and he makes that the film still fun to watch. And I still like Deadpool. I still think it's an entertaining film. I would say I liked it even a bit more than when I first initially saw it. And I think Deadpool 2 helps because you enjoy sequel, you go back to watch the first one, and then you see stuff that maybe they follow through on the sequel, so it makes you appreciate something in the previous film a little bit more. And I do like the way they play off the fourth wall, like when in the first Deadpool when he gets stabbed, and he's trying to imagine this heartwarming thing, but then like the animation like melting as he's looking at his girlfriend because he's got a fucking knife in his head, and this love song. But when he gets the knife out of his head, then the song comes back stronger, and again, that was satisfying. That was fun. So Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 1 are my favorites. X-Men 2, I do think is the best X-Men film. I think, from the Nightcrawler sequence at the White House, I think that's the best usage of Nightcrawler with the music and the way it's edited, and still pretty good looking effects with how in one shot it teleports, hits this guy, the teleports hits this guy, the teleports hits this guy, and it's not cutting. We're seeing it in one fluid motion as this classical music, which I think is the music from like the Cliffhanger trailer. I forget what that piece of music is called. And when the team assaults the school, and granted PG-13, but Wolverine is going to town. Bryan Singer, I've heard the allegations about him. I don't know if they're true or not. I don't know. I would need 100% proof on the matter. But I know that's why he doesn't direct anymore, because there were allegations of P to the E to the D to the O. I don't know. I don't know. But I do remember X-Men 2 being, I thought, a much more tighter movie compared with the first. I did not mind Brian Cox as the human villain. Then Magneto has his moments to shine. Yeah, I do like X-Men 2 quite a bit. And then after that is between Logan and X-Men The Last Stand. And people are like, really? Logan, I like the gore. I like the acting. The story, because it's been an off, it is a depressing story because all the mutants are dead. All the other X-Men are dead. Charles Xavier, every time you see him, he's pretty much dissipating away, and then he dies. And then Logan is being poisoned, and then he dies. And it's a depressing film that I don't really watch a whole lot because of that. they kill him off so that the new group of mutants will live on. And plus, Hugh Jackman didn't want to do the character anymore, so I would have preferred him just walking off into the sunset, saying, "I'm going to retire and raise these kids and teach them." And I think that would have been the nice serendipity of the one guy who you think would not be the teacher. He becomes the teacher for the new era of... He becomes Charles Xavier. Like the way Charles Xavier took him in and taught him, and then taught a group of mutants for the future age. Kind of like the son becoming the father. And I would have preferred that the poison isn't killing him, the poison just makes him be able to age. And so he won't live forever. He'll live maybe another, 40, 50 years, 35 years. But in that meantime, he'll teach these kids, and what happens in the future happens. I think if you had that kind of ending, I would probably like the film even more. That's just my 2 cents on it. It was cool to finally see an X-Men film where Wolverine doesn't have to hold back. That was nice to see. And like I said, the acting is very solid. But I just had a lot of issues with Logan as well. I don't hate the film, but it's, it's not a film I rewatch a lot. And that's been The Last Stand. I didn't grow up with the comics. I know of them. I just thought it was an entertaining, flawed, but entertaining popcorn film. I didn't need to hear the Juggernaut say, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," because it was an internet meme. And so let's put that in the movie. Killing off Cyclops I thought was kind of weak because he didn't have much to do in the first two X-Men films. And I think killing him off seemed like we gotta have a desperate attempt to really up the stakes. It would have been more interesting that you have these two guys that love Jean Grey, and it's their combined help that's to try to get to Jean Grey. They have to actually work together. That's the thing, like, Cyclops was never utilized that well in any of these X-Men movies. To this day, there's never really been an X-Men film that has utilized Cyclops as well as they could and should. And my neighbor's rooster agrees with that. But I thought it was popcorn entertainment fun. I mean, I like the Danger Room. You have a little bit of the Sentinel. I like that action sequence. It definitely seems one of the more faster-paced X-Men films. The action scenes of the Last Stand, where there's all these mutants and Wolverine's kicking ass, taking names. That's right. If you want to see Wolverine kick a lot of ass, The Last Stand does it when he's in the trees and he's hunting the mutants and he's blocking stuff. And again, what he can do right PG-13, but he's knocking them out one by one. Sometimes the superficial thrills is what I want, and that's kind of what I got with X-Men, The Last Stand. And I liked that version of Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer. I thought Kelsey Grammer actually did a rather good job playing Beast. I didn't mind the makeup of Beast. I thought it looked better than the new one. And I thought Kelsey Grammer actually handled that role fairly well. And yeah, I never hated X-Men The Last Stand like other people did. Never did. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. Like I said, it seemed like, man, they really... Maybe they thought this was going to be the end. So they said, let's kill off Cyclops. Let's kill off Charles Xavier. But wait, we don't quite kill him off all the way. We give a little nudge at the end that he could maybe come back. And then we kill off Jean Grey. And then it's like, well, shit, man. It's like rushed. Like almost has this rushed feeling to it. But I still have fun with it. And the first X-Men I would put after that because Hugh Jackman I liked in the cast. It's not a film I watch a lot. Like, that was the year 2000 when CGI... A lot of movies, when you look back on that day, the CGI is not that great. And you look back, the CGI in the first X-Men movie does not hold up that well. Like, during the Statue of Liberty fight scene, which at the end was like, oh, cool. Then you watch it at the end, you're like, it was a movie of its time. So I'm not being that judgmental on it, but man, it does not hold up when you watch that scene again. And Sabretooth, again, it's very weird. Like, later on, X-Men Origins Wolverine, you had Sabretooth that could walk and think. Well, he always walked. What I'm talking, talk, I meant. Talk and think and converse, and now it's just not the case at all. I'm like, where did that change go in? How did that happen? And the fight between him and Sabretooth was not that satisfying. I mean, it was still ended with, what, Storm? No, Cyclops. Cyclops shooting him off the fucking Statue of Liberty. I mean, it worked as a starting point. The actors, I liked Hugh Jackman. I liked Famke Johnson as Jean Grey. James Marsden as Cyclops. Halle Berry as Storm, although she has a horrible line about with Toad. What happens when someone gets fried? They die like everything. I don't know. I don't remember. It was a stupid fucking line. But that initial X-Men introducing they cast it very well, and that went a long way in that first X-Men film. Especially Hugh Jackman, which I know was supposed to be Dougray Scott from Mission Impossible 2, but Mission Impossible 2 got delayed in filming, so he missed out on it. And I guarantee you, Dougray Scott, I bet he would fucking... I'm surprised he didn't fire his agent. Like, you got me in this fucking Mission Impossible 2 when I could have been X-Men, and he missed out on a lot of money. A lot of money. But at the same time, I do think Hugh Jackman was the best choice, and he made it his own. He made Wolverine his own, and I still remember seeing that. I don't think it was in a theater. I think it was on maybe VHS or DVD. I saw it for the first time, and you know that opening where he punches someone and breaks their hand, and the reveal of the claws where he cuts the shotgun in half. Like, ooh, I like the attitude. I like the mannerism. Like, he played Wolverine very well. Cool. And you think the story's about him, but it's really about Rogue. But Wolverine is still an important part of the plot. Again, while the effects do not hold up that well, and you know, the action scenes, I would say, don't hold up that well either. I do think that was improved in X-Men 2. It's still an alright, you know, introduction to the characters, mainly for the cast. So, I know, from best to worst, for me, my opinion, Deadpool 2, Deadpool 1, X-Men 2, and then it could be either Logan or X-Men The Last Stand, or switch. The first X-Men, then X-Men Origins Wolverine, The Wolverine, X-Men First Class of Bullshit, Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix. And really the only reason I put First Class above those is because Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix to me are worse because you take what could have been cool stories and you fuck them up. Like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. X-Men First Class, it was own origin of these, whatever. Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, you fuck up some really potentially interesting stories. The more I learned about them, I'm like the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse and inconsequential horseshit is what you made it into. That's just my opinion on it. With that said, If you disagree, that's cool. Thanks for watching either way. Either way, thanks for watching. Fuck that up. I'll leave it in. Fuck it. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.